Weekend is here and it's going to be a pretty nice weekend. However, we are going to see some changes that'll be moving in, and I know many of you probably noticed some of the clouds that started pushing in here to our area this afternoon. That's what we were telling you about yesterday, that we would start off the day sunny and then just a few clouds would build in, but the sun would still be able to shine through those clouds, filter through them at times. So it was still a really nice day with temperatures today making it up into the upper 70s. Now, we'll continue to see more clouds building in some during the day on Saturday, but it looks like we'll be rain-free on Saturday. It's going to be on Sunday when we see the rain chances coming back, but they're going to be low rain chances at only 20%, mainly in those afternoon hours. After 2 in the afternoon is when we might see just 1 or 2 isolated showers here on Sunday. And that's just all they're going to be, just isolated spotty showers here and there, not many of them around at all. So, go ahead and keep an umbrella with you here for Sunday and even for the beginning of next week. Chances are you may not need it that often, but you'll be glad that you have it when one of those isolated showers, if it pops up over you. Now remember, a lot of folks will make it through Sunday, Monday and Tuesday without even seeing any rain at all. But there will be spots that do get it. So that's why I just want you to be prepared for that as we go through the second half of the weekend. Out there right now, you can see on the satellite and radar imagery some of those clouds that we had building in today. And again, a lot of them were higher, thin clouds. And then as we got to the afternoon, they started thickening up a little bit more, where at times those clouds would block out the sunshine. And then late in the afternoon into early evening, we started seeing some of those clouds clearing and moving to the north and east, and more breaks over Atlanta. Now we have some additional clouds on the south side pushing up our way, and those clouds will help to block out the moon and stars at times here for the late night hours and also into the overnight hours too. And you see this additional moisture here and cloud cover down to the south, a lot of that's going to keep pushing our way too. So that's why we're thinking we're going to see more clouds during the day here on Saturday compared to what we had out there for today. Any rain is mainly off the coast of Georgia. That easterly flow, though, trying to bring some of that into along the Georgia coast, and we are still watching this system off the Florida coast over around the Bahamas, where we've got an area of low pressure that is developing there. Also, the National Hurricane Center is keeping an eye on that too. Right now, nothing really major with this, but you can kind of see this easterly flow bringing in some of that Atlantic moisture over Florida, where they're seeing a good bit of showers. And then even more of this moisture here pushing up through parts of Louisiana, and they'll have just mainly some showers right along the coastal region there, along the Gulf Coast as we go through the weekend. So here's what we're watching in the tropics right now. It is this system that the Hurricane Center is saying here right over the Bahamas, that X that you see there. And it's in this yellow area where there's only going to be about a 10% chance that that would be able to to develop into a tropical depression or a tropical storm. Again, those chances are really low. I'm not overly concerned that that is even going to happen, because this is just going to kind of meander over near parts of South Florida. And once it gets in over land, it most likely is going to fall apart. Yesterday, the yellow development area was extending over into the Gulf of Mexico, thinking that, hey, it may cross the peninsula and make it into the Gulf, but we would have to watch it there to see if it would develop anymore. As of right now, they're not even extending this this area of development over into areas of the Gulf. So just something to watch for now. No impacts on us, but whenever we have something down in Florida that could get into the Gulf, it is definitely something to keep an eye on. There is another system, though, that is coming off the coast of Africa. Now, over the past couple of days, we've been watching this, and that's when it's been over land. Well, now that orange X here is showing it now over the water, and it's going to keep moving here through the eastern Atlantic. And once it gets into this development area that's colored in orange, that's where we have about a 50% chance that that system could develop into a tropical depression or a tropical storm. So we'll keep an eye on that. Any of that development wouldn't be anytime soon. Again, that's way out there. We don't know exactly where it's going to go, confidently right now, but the long-range models are showing this moving across the Atlantic and then curving away. So we'll have to wait and see if that, in fact, is what happens out there. Here's a live look at what we're watching right now on our tower cam from Arizona Avenue in DeKalb County, looking westward toward the city. Still beautiful city that we have here and a nice night out there with just a few clouds around here and there. I know they're kind of hard to see since it is dark, but not a bad night. Chris Brown concert going on right now at Bobby Dodd Stadium there at Georgia Tech. We can kind of see in between the stands here where a lot of folks are down on the grassy area on the field, as well as folks that are up in the seats too. Now, Georgia Tech is not playing football this weekend, so that is most likely why they're able to have a concert here at Grant Field. So fun night there at Georgia Tech. See the lights flashing. Looks like a lot of folks are having a good time out there. The weather is cooperating with them very nicely. And here is a look at Athens. Earlier on our tower cam in Athens, we were able to show you the homecoming parade that was going on in the downtown area. Now we've moved our camera, zoomed it in over here on Sanford Stadium where the lights are on the stadium. I was hoping we might see the red lights on tonight, but they're the white lights right now. They most likely aren't having to kind of warm up the lights and practice with the lights tonight because tomorrow is a day game and not a night game. So it's a noon game. It is going to be warming up during the game, but it is also going to be a cool morning here for tailgaters who are going to be out early in the morning hours. Here's a look at what we were watching with our high today. We made it up to 78 degrees, just shy of 80. So another day with highs in the upper 70s. Our low this morning was 60. That's right on target here for the morning of where we should be for this time of year. A lot of areas, though, outside the city did get into the 50s to start the morning. Really nice, crisp start to the day. And then our high, as I mentioned, was 78. That's 1 degree below the average. So, yeah, a little bit cooler than where we should be for this time of year by just 1 degree. But here we go again. I know we talk about this every night. Rainfall deficit's growing. We're at 4.66 inches below where we should be in rainfall for the year. Yesterday we were telling you about the drought conditions that we have. We're in moderate drought right now. We really need some rain to come in just to either curtail the drought so it won't grow anymore, or it would be nice to kind of work away at some of that drought and you know, hopefully get some improving conditions there. We do have some rain chances coming up this week, but those chances are on the low end for Sunday through a big part of next week. Thursday we had that low this morning right around 60 degrees. And the temperatures today warmed up pretty nicely, pretty much holding there in those 70s from really mid 70s from 1 in the afternoon until about 7 o'clock tonight. And that high did get up to 78. That was the high today in between these hourlies. Now we're back down to 70. So that's a nice feel to the air. Now here is a look at that Georgia forecast. If you are going to the game, it's homecoming. It is at noon. Kentucky is here playing in Sanford Stadium against our Bulldogs. And take a look at the tailgating tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Now it's a noon kickoff. At 10 tomorrow morning, it's going to be in the 60s. That's going to be nice and comfortable for tailgaters. At kickoff, right around 70, then getting up into the mid and upper 70s here by the end of the game. We will see a few more clouds around. Now I know depending on where you sit at Sanford Stadium, it determines how much sun you get. Now again, since this is a noon game, just about everybody's going to be getting a lot of sunshine. Once it gets to 3 or 4, the home side starts to get into a little bit more shade. But I think just about everybody at Sanford Stadium tomorrow is going to be seeing a lot of that, a lot of the sun trying to come through those clouds. But we will see more clouds blocking it out. So if you're used to sitting in Sanford Stadium in the bright sun and just sweating to death, well, number one, it's not going to be as hot. We're not talking about upper 80s and lower 90s for high temperatures tomorrow. It's going to be in the 70s, upper 70s, so that's good. But still, in the bright sun, it would feel hotter. But we're going to have clouds blocking out the sun a lot during the day tomorrow. So it should be pretty comfortable to watch the game. Right now, we see those temperatures here in town at 70. Marietta still at 71. Milledgeville is at 70. Those are the warmer spots right now. But outside of Atlanta and in most places, we have temperatures in the 60s at this hour. Look at Athens checking in at 61 right now. Lawrenceville 62, Gainesville 62. We've got 63 in Carrollton, 65 in Peachtree City. Rome checking in at 68 degrees. Really nice night out there for folks who are at high school football games or just out and about. It's feeling really good. Tomorrow morning, we start off in the city at 60 degrees. But again, many of you outside the city will start off with those temperatures in the 50s. And then we warm during the day, 70 degrees at 11, 75 at 1, then getting up to 80 in the afternoon. We're thinking here in the Atlanta area as we see a few more clouds that'll be building in here too. So here's the forecast track. where you can see that cloud cover just kind of hit and miss. Partly cloudy skies here during the overnight hours, and then early tomorrow morning, we have a few more of these clouds that are going to be filling in, mixing in with the sunshine at times during the day, and thickening up a little bit more into the afternoon. But still, even though those clouds are going to thicken up a little bit more, we're not expecting any rain out of them. It looks like Saturday is going to be a dry day here. More of those clouds during the evening hours, and then on Sunday, still a pretty good coverage of clouds around. We'll call it mostly cloudy, but with those clouds, we're going to see the moisture content in the air starting to come up a little bit more, and that's going to introduce that low rain chance at about 20%. And I really think any rain that happens, the higher chances of that would be along I-20 and south. You can see at noon on Sunday, a couple of showers south of Eatonton and parts of Baldwin County near Milledgeville. A couple of showers nearing Thomaston, possibly getting into Pike and Lamar counties there. And then that tries to lift northward a little bit by 5 o'clock. Nothing really major, just a few isolated showers there on the south side. And then a lot of that falls apart as it moves up toward the north. So that's why we have just that 20% chance for a couple of isolated showers. And then on Monday, again, nothing really widespread, just a 20% chance for a couple of showers around once again. So the dry day on Saturday, then the low rain chances stick with us for the first half of the week, Monday and Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we will see a 30% chance for showers, maybe a little better chance that you'll see one of those showers that'll move through, but still, even that's not going to be impressive. Now, I show you this comparison just to show you the differences of what the models are showing here. The American model is showing over the next 7 days, maybe just a 1/10 of an inch of rain here in Atlanta, possibly up to just below a 1/2 inch in Thomaston and LaGrange. Compare that to the European model. This is a big difference here. It's showing Atlanta getting 1.3 inches of rain over the next 7 days. So we have a wide range there of rainfall totals potentially here. So all in all, I'm just telling you, with these low rain chances, it depends on which areas might pick up on a heavier shower, but we don't expect a lot of that around. I'm leaning closer to the GFS, the American model, rather than the European, which was showing over an inch of rain over the next 7 days. So here's a look at those temperatures. It's been very cool the past few days. As we see the moisture content in the air coming up, and as we see a few more clouds building in overnight and in the morning, it won't be getting as cool for those overnight hours and early morning hours. So the morning lows still going to be comfortable, but they just start coming up a little bit more to 65 on Sunday, 67 Monday and Tuesday, 66 on Wednesday, and our afternoon highs pretty much holding steady throughout the period. We'll generally be in those lower 80s for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, going up to about 82 degrees here on Wednesday. I do think we'll see some cooler air arriving by the end of next week with an east wind setting up somewhat of a wedge that could start developing there to cool us off once again by the end of next week. So here's what we're watching. A lot of moisture here down into Florida where we've got that system we're going to keep an eye on there as well. But that sends a lot of moisture, also more of that across the peninsula and into the Gulf Coast where they can see some pretty good rain here over the weekend in those coastal regions. And we just have a little bit of that that's trying to move into our area as we go into next week. Again, nothing really major moving in. On Wednesday, you see a better coverage of green here. That's the day that we have that 30% chance for a shower. Same thing for Thursday with a 30% chance for showers. And then we'll watch an easterly flow developing here by the end of the week. That will keep us with some clouds, but also cool us off a little bit more going into the end of next week with those high temperatures that'll be coming back into the 70s. So here is your 7-day forecast where we have 80 degrees for a high on Saturday. That's after the morning low of 60. So a cool start. More clouds building in. Sunday, a low of 65. Nice and comfortable, but not as cool. And then up to 80 in the afternoon. But that's when we have a 20% chance for an isolated shower to develop. And we're going to hold on to the 20% chance also on Monday and on Tuesday, still with those highs in the lower 80s. Wednesday, 30% chance for a few showers, so the rain chance coming up a little bit Wednesday and Thursday. Highs on Wednesday near 82, and then as the wind shifts and comes out of more of the east on Thursday and Friday, that's when those temperatures will be coming back down into the 70s to end up the week. So Thank you for joining us for this extended weather outlook here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. We will keep you posted here throughout the weekend as well as to what to expect with those low rain chances. We'll be tracking those for you. We'll have another update for you coming up tonight at 11 on 11 Alive News. That's on TV on 11 Alive as well as right here on 11 Alive Plus. I hope you have a great night and a great weekend.